All right, folks, welcome to the program. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. The reality today on the ground here in Nevada is fairly dire. Following this from Las Vegas up in Carson City, in our capital, they're debating right now the Hollywood handout package. I got to tell you, it doesn't matter where you're at in the country. Let me tell you why this matters. In a very, how do I put this? In a very sneaky way, you can suddenly find yourself sold out by the politicians in your state. And it happens quickly. Now, look, here's the scoop, right? We're in a special session. 20 days to get 16 bills passed. We are a part-time legislature here in the great state of Nevada. I like this, by the way. Having come from California, where the legislature is full-time, it's all they do. They just sit and they pass crappy bills 24/7. I like that ours meets only once every 2 years. But you can call a special session. The governor can call one. It has to be for an emergency. Now, none of these 16 bills strike me as though they were emergency in nature, but nonetheless, here we are. No one's challenged this special session, and they're trying to push across the finish line this tax credit bill for Hollywood studios. Now, when this first came on the radar, like any kind of tax credit to attract business, I'm interested. It on paper, well, I'll say this, as a concept, it seems pretty decent. But then what happens, you start looking under the hood, and you realize it's a $1.5 billion giveaway to a very specific industry. And where's that money going to come from? Right? It's an actual cost to the system. Those are tax dollars that will not be recovered otherwise. So it's not self-funded. And that's when you start to realize, well, they're going to have to find ways to pay for it. That's where I, as a taxpayer, start getting nervous. I got really nervous earlier today when I found out through my contacts in Carson City that the legislatures there, they're openly talking about a tax, an income tax. Now, of course, at this point, it's being discussed as a high earner tax, right? Only for high net worth, high income individuals, that they would just, top, 5% or 2% even would be taxing individuals on their income. But you and I both know what a slippery slope that is. I know what'll happen. They'll start there, and pretty soon everybody's paying a tax rate that is approaching that of California. I look, it's not going to happen in Florida, probably not going to happen in Texas, two states that also do not have income taxes. But I would say the number one most attractive thing about moving to a state like Nevada is the no income tax. The reason Californians come to Nevada, move here, is not even the cost of living anymore because it's expensive to live here, but it's an actual real saving on taxes. You do away with that, even if the rate is lower, it's just psychologically not going to make a difference. So you do away with an income tax, and you do away with the no income tax, and you bring in a tax. All of a sudden, there are a number of individuals and, of course, many businesses who will never move here. And this effort to attract one industry, and it may not even get the job done, but attract one industry to bring it here to the state to try to compete against Georgia and other places that have done quite a lot to bring in Hollywood productions. Yeah, at the expense of what? Every other business that wants to come to the state. I'm pretty confident that if we had a state income tax of any kind, I don't know. I think UFC, for example, wouldn't have come here, wouldn't set up its headquarters here. That's one example. Maybe I wouldn't have come here to Nevada, right? I mean, it's a major draw is the no income tax. So anyway, this is what's going on right now in real time and all sorts of shenanigans with it. So 1:30, we're going to have Victor Joecks from the RJ here to tell us everything. He's been following this meticulously and has details. There's a number of Republican senators that are contemplating a vote as we speak on this bill. It has to be no, because it's not funded. It's about the money. I don't care how good of an idea it is. The dollars and cents aren't there. And so these are folks that need a call. I normally don't do this, but I'm going to do it here. We're doing this. Please be respectful. Please be, courteous. I don't want any rude callers out there saying Sam sent me, but Robin Titus. These are all 775 phone numbers. 901-3844. Robin Titus. Jeff Stone, 684-1481. John Steinbeck, 684-1442. Lisa Krasner, 420-8411. Carrie Buck, 684-1457. Krasner and Stone and Steinbeck, I think they seem to be the big ones. Yes, and I think Steinbeck and Krasner can be wiggled. So we just got to let them know. We got to let them know we can't give away a bunch of money in Hollywood and then kill the Nevada Golden Goose, which is us as an economic opportunity zone by virtue of our zero state income tax. This is a trap, and the Republicans are walking right dead into it. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, Victor Joecks will be here to talk about it. By the way, I know we've got a big crime bill here, too. I know normally I've got a lot of big issues to talk about here nationally, too, but, I came to Nevada from California, and my biggest fear always was that the Democrats here in Nevada would change. When I got to the state, even, 6 years ago, my overall impression was that the Democrats in Nevada were far more conservative than even the Republicans in California. I would joke, I'd tell people, boy, the kind of Democrats that we have in Nevada would make California Republicans blush. And so I felt, felt safe to invest here and to come here. This to me now, I think too many libs have come in from California, to be perfectly honest. Now, let me tell you, this is another thing. We'll talk more about this with Victor when he's on. You see the bit about Ted Cruz, what he's thinking. Ted Cruz, I mean, what are we talking? We are in November of 2025. And Ted Cruz has decided to come out to launch his, soft launch, his presidential race. Did you see this? I'll tell you exactly what this is about when we come back. You know what he's polling at, by the way? 2%. So what is this about, really? Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. More of the What's Right show up next.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, Sam Mirejovsky here for Sam and Ash Injury Law. Let me tell you something. You get hit in an accident, you get hurt, something happens, and all of a sudden your life is turned upside down because the insurance company, the lawyers, everybody, they're calling you nonstop all the time. And not just calling you, they're sending you emails. Now they send you text messages. It's really a colossal mess. And you're just trying to live your life. You're hurting. Maybe your car is busted up. On top of it, right? You've got these incoming phone calls. It's not doable. And most people really get frustrated by it and just actually just let it go. Don't do that either. The reason to hire a firm like Sam & Ash is so that you offload all of that administrative work onto someone that knows exactly how to help you. They know what needs to be sent. They need to know what needs to be gathered, putting it all together, and literally just a quick phone call with Sam & Ash Injury Law gets you set up for that. And then you don't have to deal with any of these people. You can just live your life, go to your kids' soccer practice, do your job, and just take a deep breath and relax. Clients of Sam & Ash all confirm it's a relief the moment they get make that initial call, talk to Oscar, talk to Ian, talk to Sam, talk to Ash, meet with the team, and get it done. 15, 20 minutes, easy. And they never have to worry about anything again. 800-304-2000 offices in Nevada and California. 1-800-304-2000 because you deserve what's right. All right, Sam Mirejovsky here, sam@whatsrightshow.com. That is my email, @whatsrightsam on X, formerly known as Twitter. I won't give out the numbers again to our state senators who are deliberating on this film tax Hollywood giveaway that now state legislators, are already mentioning the I word, income tax. Yes, in the state of Nevada. Frustrating. So go to my X account, go to Twitter, @whatsrightsam. I've got all the numbers there, and you can call the senators, please, and let them know that here in Nevada, we do not want an income tax. We don't want to give away money to Hollywood. We do not want to ruin the great thing that we have in Nevada. We are already an economic opportunity zone relative to California by virtue of our tax-friendly climate. Don't ruin it. Oh, okay. Now we'll get into greater depth with Victor Joecks, who's an intrepid conservative reporter following all of this. He's at the Review Journal, and he'll be with us at 1:30. So just in a little bit. Now, I just want to say this thing about Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, I like Ted Cruz. Personally, I like him. I think, and I've always been open about this. I think he's not a likable guy. Like, I don't know. I mean, he has obviously been successful electorally in Texas. When he ran for president in 2016, it was not good. Like, nobody left 2016 Ted Cruz up there on stage with Trump and Rubio and others, and nobody left that going, but that Ted Cruz, boy, he came this close. Nobody said that. And now Ted Cruz, because last night, Bloomberg reporter put a mic in front of Trump's face as he's coming back, and Trump's giving the interviews, right? So he asked him, what are you not? Asked Trump to disavow Tucker Carlson. Now, I don't like these disavow gives. I've been critical of Tucker, obviously very critical of a number of right-wing influencers lately. I'm not out to cancel anybody. I'm not out to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just going to tell you when they're wrong. We're allowed to say somebody's wrong. And we're allowed to point out when people have dangerous biases. But anyway, so Trump is, he's an elected president. He is the standard bearer for our party. And he's very good at trying to keep the big Trump coalition, the big MAGA coalition together. And that in spite of all these recent headwinds. So what does he do? They say, well, you want to disavow Tucker? No, I'm not going to do it. That's the short version of the exchange. And on the heels of that, Ted Cruz comes out saying, yeah, I think I'm going to be running in 2028. Now, Let's see. It's 2025. Yes. We have midterms less than a year away. These midterms are decisive, not just for Trump and for the party, but for the country as a whole. Any Republican that isn't focused on the midterm elections is on my naughty list. This is kind of my same problem with actually, funny enough, with Tucker and Candace Owens and obviously the other guy that I'm not going to mention. So none of them say go out and vote, move the needle. Let's seize political power and then have our discussion about finer points of policy. No. And this is the thing with Ted Cruz. Anything Ted does here now is a distraction to getting things done, Republicans uniting, nationalizing certain key issues, motivating the base to come out and vote in November of 2026. We have a country to save, damn it. And along comes Ted Cruz, and he's doing it to fundraise. Let me tell you, he's doing it to fundraise. There is a increasing split in the party right now. There are people who, and I guess obviously there are people who are very concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism. I count myself in that group. And there are people who, basically, there's a camp that wants the Republican frontrunner to abandon Israel and I don't know what else. And Ted Cruz sees himself as the defender of Israel and the defender of Jews, which I appreciate. But he's throwing himself into the mix for his own political benefit at a time when the fire doesn't need any more fuel. We got to find ways of uniting. And I don't know if it does him any good strategically, right? I thought about this. Does announcing this right now, other than raising money, and he'll go to the donor class and he'll raise money. For me, it's not Israel. If you're new to the program, let me explain very quickly and succinctly where this all lays for me. Number one, we are in an existential fight to save Western civilization. And the radical left has formed an unholy alliance with the Islamists. That is why the radical leftists are so pro-Palestine. They've united, and what they want to see for different reasons is an end of the world order as we know it. The problem is that wrapped up in that world order are a lot of things that I like. Western civilization is what my heritage is. And in the fight to preserve this and save this, I don't know. I view Israel as an ally. I feel a lot more kinship to people who are Jewish in this equation than the people that are radical socialists. I hope more and more Jewish people leave the crazy Democratic Party and join our ranks. It's already begun to happen. And you've got people here that are just losing their minds over Israel. Something broke in their brains, and I don't know what it is. And so this is my bias on this. I'm just being palms up with you so you know where I'm coming from. And Ted Cruz and I are I guess, certainly opinion-wise on this, are very much on the same page. But I just think it's a timing thing. We've got to win the midterms. We got to win the midterms. Everything, the next 12 months are so critical. So this me, look at me. I'm gonna go out and fundraise. I'm gonna be the candidate to fight as the alternative for JD Vance, who by the way, a lot of people, just gonna tell you this, a lot of people on the pro-Israel side of the Republican Party, Jewish Republicans, are very uneasy about JD Vance. And that's for a longer discussion at some point, but I'm letting you know where it is. I mean, that's a fact. Okay, when we come back, The What's Right show will have Victor Joecks from the RJ here to talk about how a handful of bad Republicans can really screw up a good state like Nevada. Heartbreaking stuff. Be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program, live and local, here in downtown Las Vegas. And we've got with us here my good friend, Victor Joecks from the Review Journal. Victor, welcome to the What's Right show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you have been following this debacle up in Carson City. And now we have listeners all around. We got listeners in California. We have listeners across the country and actually podcast downloads around the world. I always like to tell people Nevada's special, right? And it's this place that we have this kind of somewhat usually well-run, kind of low government intervention jurisdiction that's 270 miles away from some of the most insane politicians on the planet, namely Los Angeles. So we have this enormous advantage in Nevada that we're a low tax, right? Low regulation, relatively jurisdiction, very close to California, which is one of the most regulated and taxed states in the country. All of that is at risk right now. Why?
Well, there is a proposal up in Carson City, Nevada's capital, to give about $100 million a year in transferable tax credits to Hollywood productions. Now, it's very important to understand that transferable tax credits are not just an exemption for taxes that you would pay. We're not just saying to Hollywood, hey, come here and we won't make you pay the sales tax, we won't make you pay the property tax. When they're transferable, they can be sold. So what it is it's a coupon for about 30% of the production value that those productions can take. They're not going to pay 30% in taxes, and then they can sell them for cash to other industries, and those industries can get a discount on their taxes. And so what this is going to do, this is a massive subsidy, and the pro side will say, well, it's going to bring Hollywood to Nevada. And first of all, that doesn't sound like a good deal anyway, but they'll say, well, we're going to bring Hollywood to Nevada,
right?
And we'll create this new industry, and there'll be all these new jobs. And when you look at the experience around the country, and the nice thing is that we actually know exactly how this would play out because it's been done in Florida, it's been done in Georgia. And what we know is that these transferable tax credits for the film industry are a money loser. The state, not me, not conservative Victor, the state, the governor's office, in a report a few months ago, estimates the state would receive 23 cents on the dollar. And if you include local taxes, then it's about 50 cents on the dollar.
And can I ask here, sorry to interrupt, but
please.
I've seen a cost, like a dollar cost, an actual like real money of somewhere between $1 and $1.5 billion. Is that a realistic number?
Yeah. I mean, the cost of the credits would be about, I think I've seen $1.8 billion. We get back 20 cents on the dollar. So you're looking at about $1.5 billion. Now, obviously, it's not over 1 year, it's over 15 years. But if you start taking out $80 million, $100 million from the budget every year, you're putting pressure on the budget and all those other areas that want spending. Education, healthcare, roads, or, like you talked about, we would like to keep taxes low here so we are competitive with California.
So we attract all businesses, right? I mean,
yeah,
we don't want. I mean, listen, I laugh because, of course, I don't want all of Hollywood in my neighborhood in Las Vegas, but I do like when companies move here. I do like when business comes to Nevada. I think Nevada is a great place to do business. And I'm a big cheerleader for our state. But, everybody I talk to that moves here tells me, oh, I'm here because there's no income tax. Yep. If we go and hand out this deal, which, to be clear, it does not say explicitly that there's going to be an income tax. It just has that 80 to 100 million a year deficit that will have to be made up somewhere. And there's only so much more gaming tax revenue that you can get, or particularly in a struggling economy, or mining tax revenue. So we're hearing, I think we both are, that in Carson City they're talking now about this, that maybe in 2030 there'd be an income tax, and start putting it forward as a something on kind of high net worth, high income individuals, and that I know what that is. I know how that, whatever. Yeah. It's not me. And then maybe 2 years later, suddenly it is you, because they've expanded the definition of what a high income earner is, right?
Well, there's no good income tax. I mean, one of the great advantages, as you said, of Nevada is that we do not have an income tax. And if you start having an income tax, the pressure is going to build over time to lower the threshold so that more and more of us pay the income tax. And if you don't believe me, just look at the U.S. federal income tax, because that's how it started. Oh, we're just going to hit the very, very top people. And then whoop, now it's all of us. Now it's all of us who are making money. So there is definitely going to be a push to raise taxes if this passes. And hopefully it doesn't pass. The Senate looks very tight. It squeaked out of the Assembly. I know there's a lot of pressure being put on certain senators right now. And, as we record this, I haven't checked in the last 5 minutes, but they haven't taken it to a floor vote. So that means they're still trying to wrangle the votes. And the thing you have to remember is that the people who are pushing this need a yes vote for 10 minutes. They need a yes vote, enough time to rush them down to the floor and press the button. And the folks who are standing against this have to stand strong the whole time. And it takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts to stand up to that pressure cooker up in Carson City.
For people who might not be familiar with how these votes happen, right? And this, by the way, I think this is true in any state legislature. It's also true in Congress. There's some horse trading going on, right? I presume.
Yeah. I think there absolutely is horse trading going on. That shouldn't come as a shock to anyone. I know we like to think that, our elected officials go to Carson City and it's Mr. Smith goes to Washington and they really study and they dig into it and, they just judge it on the merits. That's not what happens on most issues, at least any controversial issue. People come in with a set opinion. They come in with a set of beliefs, and it's very hard to get them to move from those beliefs. So we've laid out the facts. The facts are very clear that this is a terrible policy, but there's other reasons that people want it, and those reasons are quite persuasive to some people.
What is it? Because I've heard, in fact, you have some intel on this that you broke earlier today about certain promises being made to hold out senators. Now, what is it? Why is the governor so intent on this bill? Why is Lombardo, who is a Republican, why is he so gung-ho about this bill? Is it special interest thing? Is this something that he thinks is going to help him get reelected? What is it?
Well, it's funny because in February, he gave an interview and he talked about the film tax credit proposal. This isn't a new proposal. It's been around for years. And he basically suggested that it's really expensive. It's not a good use of tax dollars. Correct. And here, 6-8 months later, he starts changing his tune and saying, it's a jobs bill and we've got to get jobs, And so it's interesting because Lombardo publicly, aside from putting it into the special session proclamation, has not come out in favor of this. Now, I know that behind the scenes, his team is pushing this extraordinarily hard. But if it does go down to defeat, I think he actually publicly can kind of escape the fallout. But, behind the scenes, his people will say, well, it's a jobs bill. They're worried about the economy. He's up for re-election next year. And, if people aren't employed, he's going to be in trouble. And this is going to put people back to work. Now, I just really struggle with that for a couple of reasons. One, it's not putting that many people to work in the next 6 to 8 months, which is when people's impressions of the economy are going to be formed before an election next year.
Yep.
And it's just such a terrible deal that I think you risk ticking off a lot of conservative Republicans. Now, what the Lombardo political team has done is basically take conservatives for granted. They've said, they're not going to vote for Aaron Ford, so, we'll just do whatever we want to try and attract people from the left and the middle and be endorsed by the teachers union. And those Republicans have nowhere else to go. And I agree, they're not going to vote for Ford, but they can vote for none of these candidates in Nevada. They can skip the governor's race. They can just sit home on the couch and not come out and vote. Those are very real options. And there's no President Trump at the top of the ticket. There's no U.S. Senate race at the top of the ticket. Lombardo is so proud of the fact that he won in 2020 and Adam Laxalt, the more conservative candidate who was running for U.S. Senate, didn't run. But I'm telling you, if Laxalt hadn't been driving out those rural conservatives, Lombardo was not going to win, because he doesn't have the same pull with them that someone like Adam Laxalt does. And I'm just politically speaking, leave aside my policy preferences. I think Lombardo's political team is making a big mistake in thinking that they are going to have the same ability to pull out those conservative voters without someone else on the top of the ticket appealing to them.
Do you, and we just have a minute here before break, maybe you could stay with us here into the next segment because it's fascinating stuff, but just real quick, what do you think, because the crime bill, and I like the crime bill, so I personally think the crime bill is a good idea, and a number of things on there that are great. I know Lombardo really wants the crime bill to pass. Is your sense too that maybe the film tax thing is something that's somebody else's pet project that he is trading some support for and help with, sort of you pass mine, I'll pass yours kind of a thing?
Well, I'm sure there's some of that, because these things tend to get very interconnected. But, if Lombardo did not want the film tax bill to pass, I just don't think he would have called a special session. I think because they were calling the special session, he wants a win on crime. And I actually think politically he's making another mistake, because the crime bill that he's proposed originally in the last two sessions has been really strong. And what the Democrats have done is they've gone in and gutted the vast majority of it. And so my concern for him, just politically, is that you're going to go out and say, I solved crime, look at this crime bill. And the voter is going to go to Walmart and say, yeah, my toothpaste is still behind the glass. I thought you said you fixed the crime bill. Now I don't trust you. And so it's just bizarre. It's like, if you could get everything you wanted on crime, then take it. But if you can't, then why are you taking away that issue so that you can have a win that's actually not going to produce results? And then you look at Nicole Cannizzaro, Democrat Senate Majority Leader, who's running for Attorney General. Guess what she's going to do? I passed the crime bill. I'm tough on crime. Elect me. And, I don't think Lombardo cares about that so much. I don't think he would be upset if she won the Attorney General's race. Hope I'm wrong. But that's my impression. But it's just very bizarre. Just politically very bizarre moves from the Lombardo administration.
All right. Fascinating stuff. Victor Joecks, hang tight with us here through the break. By the way, where can people reach you?
Well, I'm on Twitter, or X, I guess, as you call it. Victor, last name Joecks. Victor, Joecks. I'm in the Review Journal Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. We've got a great print product, great digital product as well.
Yeah. Victor, you're the guy to follow here for all things political in Las Vegas and Nevada. Absolutely true. All right, hang tight. The What's Right Show will be back in just a minute. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone with my friend Victor Joecks in studio with us. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network, in studio here with my friend Victor Joecks from the Review Journal, based in Las Vegas. We're talking about, of course, the special session happening in our capital. And one thing, Victor, we didn't get to here is, didn't Lombardo, who was our Republican governor, didn't he run on a school choice platform? Didn't he run on any promise and talk about during the campaign? Things that's something that matters to us conservatives. Whatever happened to all that?
Well, he sure did. You've got a good memory. That was one of the issues that he was the strongest on. I mean, I don't know if you remember during the campaign, he's not always the most articulate when it comes to policy issues, but he did a really nice job of talking about school choice, talking about the need for school choice. I personally thought of all the issues, this appears to be the one he's the most passionate about. And what happens in 2023? He goes into session. He gives away $2 billion in his proposed budget to the public schools. He offers up $50 million for a school choice program. And so you're looking at a 40-to-1 ratio, and eventually, under pressure, kind of ups his offer in future years. But Democrats ignore it, and they say, okay, look, we got your $2 billion. We'll end up passing a $2.5 billion increase, and no money. $0 for school choice. And what's so amazing is that session, Governor Lombardo signed a bill requiring Medicaid and insurance companies in the state to pay for gender mutilation surgeries. And so Governor Lombardo has done more to fund gender mutilation surgeries than school choice in Nevada. And I know he will say, well, the Democrats were in the legislature and, we just need more Republicans in the legislature. Okay, true. Well, you know what you don't have to do? You don't have to give them their priorities. If it's a stalemate.
He has a veto still.
Yes, he has a veto. And he loves talking about how many bills he's vetoed. Well, he could have vetoed probably twice that many bills and been in just fine shape. And he probably would have gotten a few more wins for conservatives if he had been willing to do that. But it was just his administration. It's just been very bizarre. It's been give away all my leverage and then wonder why Democrats won't be nice to me. I mean, it's like, I can tell you why, because you gave away all your leverage and they aren't into being nice. They want their agenda and they're happy to have you sign it. And in fact, what the Democrats are especially happy with is they can put something forward that's more radical, because they know if Lombardo signs it, then they won't pay a political price, because they can say, look, the Republican governor signed it. It must not have been too bad. It was bipartisan. And so he's been a big disappointment.
Let me say why I care about the education component so much. I if you've been following, this is a national news story, obviously, but there's people. You're conservative, I'm conservative, right? And I followed you a long time. I know where your opinions are. There's some people, sort of, I guess, allegedly on our side that are insane. Okay, and they're. I'm not going to even mention his name now, but there's somebody who has reached national prominence, young guy, who is just basically openly racist and bigoted and just a horrible human being. And he's, he says moronic things like Stalin's a great guy, and Hitler was a good dude and all this. And the reason I bring this up, because I've been thinking about, I've been agonizing about, where the hell is his support coming from? Like, where did all this happen? And then the more I look at it, I go, oh, we have a generation or two, generation certainly, of young men now in their early 20s who went to elementary school, middle school, high school. They just got critical race theory to death. They were told at every turn that they don't matter. Actually, worse than that, all that is bad in the universe is your fault, pointing to the white male sitting in the classroom. They get overloaded with politics. And then, right, because the agenda takes precedence over real education, they're not even taught anything about history. And if they are taught that, Hitler is bad and Stalin is bad, maybe by the teacher, it's the same teacher who's also pointing to them saying that they're bad. And so the enemy of my enemy becomes my friend. They're getting warped in these schools. And to the critics on the left of people like the guy I'm describing, I'm telling you, I think the answer is that our education system is rotten to the core, and giving school choice to parents is the number one way to fundamentally change course on this. And I don't know, what say you?
No, I think so much of what you say is spot on there, because what's happened in our public schools is, instead of being proud of America, instead of teaching our children that we live in an incredible country, that we are blessed to live in this country, and then further teaching them what it is about America that makes us great, that we have this idea that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that idea is something that we can all rally around. It's It's what the abolitionists rallied around. It's what Dr. Martin Luther King rallied around. It's what, I thought as a kid growing up in the 90s, we were going to rally around. And instead, just like you said, the left came in and said, oh, actually, no, we're going to divide you by race. And these people are the bad people. And it shouldn't surprise us when the people who've been told, oh, you're the bad people, rebel against what the system is telling them, not as an excuse for listening to that guy that you're talking about by any means, but we need to get back to empowering parents to find a school that works for their child, that teaches them to read and to write, teaches them moral values, and teaches them about the history of the country. We need that. School choice is the way to obtain it.
It's the only way forward, and this is why it's so heartbreaking that a Republican governor who ran on this platform hasn't fulfilled it. I'm not expecting Gavin Newsom to fulfill it. I'm not expecting the big guy in New York, Mr. Pritzker, to fulfill it. But I'm expecting our own governors across the country to fulfill it. Victor Joecks, thank you for being with us here today. Come back again soon. We love having you on the show.
Hey, anytime. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Sam.
All right. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network, back after the break. Making radio great again, folks. It's Sam Mirejovsky, your favorite talk show host behind the What's Right microphone. Great to be here with you. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Show on X is where you find me. Excuse me, at What's Right Sam. You find us either way. At What's Right Sam, at What's Right Show. Sorry, I got tangled up here because I saw this great video just moments ago of Trump getting interviewed in the Oval Office, and he was asked by a reporter about his rough voice. Trump is a little raspy right now. So it gets asked about this, and he answers, quote, "I was shouting at people because they were stupid." Perhaps one of the more relatable things Donald Trump has ever said. Okay, folks. Hey, that last question to Victor. Just last hour, by the way, interview with Victor Joecks at the Review Journal here in Las Vegas. Absolutely. I always really like talking to Victor. He's a super smart, cerebral guy, a true conservative, and he follows state politics here in our hometown, home state, very closely. Now, here on the program, we cover mostly national issues because we've got listeners all over. But I like to once in a while talk about Nevada, particularly when we've got this special session. So we started talking about education. Now, what I was getting at with him, I'm going to name it because I'm going to name the puppy. I'm going to name the puppy because it's important we have this out. This Nick Fuentes guy, he's something else. Now, don't get me wrong, very persuasive. What is his audience? His audience is made up of young men who have been perpetually told in their classrooms by their teachers, maybe if they've gone to college by their professors, that they are, as white men, the problem of all ill in the world. They've been singled out and talked down to. They've been, from a very young age, heavily indoctrinated. They walk into their schools, they walk into their classrooms, and there's propaganda material for all things left. And then at the same time, these kids are not taught very much. Going after and fixing education. One of the ways to do that, of course, is school choice, to make public schools compete against the privates for tuition dollars. And then, of course, because it's a competition, it's a marketplace, having to adjust their curricula to meet the needs of the average student who doesn't want to be programmed like this. Parents don't want their kids programmed. I'm convinced of it, by and large, that this is an undertaking by the teachers' unions. That's a way to fix this up. Now, people go, oh my goodness, I can't believe you guys have, meaning you conservatives, you guys have this Nick Fuentes guy who's a racist and a bigot and all this stuff. I mean, I remember when I mentioned one of the things, I saw a clip of what he said, and he said, oh, this was in an interview with Tucker. In an interview with Tucker, Nick Fuentes tells Tucker Carlson, I'm a huge admirer of Joseph Stalin. Now, Joseph Stalin, let's just get into the history of things, the greatest mass murderer of the 20th century. I mean, Mao gives him a run for his money, but Stalin was at the top. When you look at his regime beginning prior to World War II, through World War II, deaths attributed to Stalin, going into the post-war period before his death in the 50s, Joseph Stalin, liquidated 150 million people. A lot of people. Puts certainly Hitler to shame. Well, 150 is the full communist, but 20, 30 million attributable directly to Stalin. Easy. So I bring this up because I know I understand what's going on here. Our schools have now for years become indoctrination centers. And to a certain number of students, no doubt, it's obnoxious. They feel singled out. They feel attacked. And then guess what? The same teacher that is telling the young man in the classroom, you're the problem, and people like you are the problem, and racism exists because of you, and white privilege, and all this other CRT stuff, nonsense, which is just racism in another form, then maybe has one day where they cover World War II and they say, well, and Joseph Stalin had a problem, Hitler was a bad guy, and reflexively, these young men who have not been taught very much except for propaganda, reflexively, these young men come out and say, well, if my same teacher that was criticizing me speaks poorly of Hitler, Hitler must be a great guy. That doesn't, look, I'm not here making an excuse for Fuentes. I'm disgusted by him. I think he's an idiot. He's very persuasive. And we have a problem with young men in our society generally because of the downfall of education. Now, the Democrats' solution to education is to throw more money at it. That's what they say. I mean, that's what they want. They want more money, and they are crying every time the Trump administration does anything to begin to cut back and execute on its plan to eliminate the Department of Education. In fact, it was Governor Pritzker who held a little presser speech that he gave the other day where he talked about the Department of Education. He actually dropped a little expletive at the end of his remarks. Remember, Pritzker's the governor of Illinois. He's an outspoken foil to President Trump. He's certainly going to be running on the Democratic ticket in 28. Here's what he said. Now pay careful attention to the solution.
Let's talk about what we're up against in 2025. President Trump and his bootlickers have torn down the U.S. Department of Education from the inside. Instead of helping to improve math and reading scores like you all are doing and supporting our educators, they're making it harder for students to get ahead. Books are being banned. History is being erased. Republicans want to take billions away from public schools and pump it into private institutions. They want to punish teachers for telling the truth. They want to criminalize educators for supporting LGBTQ students. They want to turn classrooms into cultural war battlegrounds. And I'm sorry to be vulgar, but Donald Trump and his cronies can f*** all the way off.
So what's the problem? He's speaking, by the way, to the Illinois Teachers Union people. The idea of gutting the money train, the flow of cash into public schools, into these propaganda centers, that are, on some level, frankly, responsible for A, producing students who don't know anything, can't do anything, aren't functioning, aren't up to speed, can't even get to college. Remember last week we talked about the ridiculous outcomes that they're finding. Universities across the country, including UC San Diego, can't get people to do basic, algebra 1. Yeah, it's a thing. So they're not learning anything. They're being programmed. They're breeding, frankly, stupid, reflexive radicals among us. People that certainly I don't claim on our side of the movement. But in some ways, these young men that are influenced by Fuentes, I feel for them. They've been completely let down by the system. They've been broken down by the system. We can win them back. But we've got to fix the Department of Education or we're going to keep getting more of them. And the Democrats aren't going to give up. And you want to talk to me about what matters? What matters is this upcoming midterm election. These midterms are so critical. We've got to win because if we don't win, we don't get our policies done. It's all about winning and moving the needle politically. It's not just podcasting and opining and whoa, that's interesting. Aw, shucks. We got to get out and vote. And one of the leading conservative voices who not only spoke truth and wisdom, but also organized and got the vote out, they killed. So that's where we stand on this. By the way, Chicago, they've raised taxes now to fund education. Raising taxes to fund education. It's not going well. Fun fact. I'll get to that when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust for your personal injury case. 1-800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000, because you deserve what's right.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here for Sam and Ash Injury Law. Let me tell you something real fast here. You get hit, you get in an accident, you get hurt, and all of a sudden you've got these phone calls. You've signed up. You don't know it. You didn't realize it, but you've signed up for 3+ months of nonstop efforts by other people to intrude on your work life, your private life, home life, everything. You get the texts. Yes, they text you now. Emails, phone calls, voicemails to return. What you need is a lawyer, and not just to protect your rights, not just to help you get money, because that's obvious. You need a lawyer that is your personal concierge. You need an office like Sam and Ash Injury Law with real people, not AI. Real people like Nicole, like Oscar, like Ian, like Rhea. There's people that are inside the building, on the phone, helping you out, making the calls for you, answering the emails for you, responding to the insurance company, making sure everything is done right, on time, and gets you the best possible result. Put another way, you can't afford not to hire Sam and Ash Injury Law if you've been in an accident. Sam and Ash Injury Law. That's the only law firm to trust with your injury case. 1-800-304-2000. Offices in Nevada and California. Nevada and California. Both states. Real easy. 1-800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000. 2000. 2000, just to be clear. Or you can visit samandashlaw.com. All right. Well, it's Chicago. I gotta love Chicago. I'm from Chicago originally, was born in Evanston, Illinois. and spent very little time there. So I can't speak to it a lot, but certainly have friends and people that live there. And I feel bad for every person who's conservative who lives anywhere in the proximity of Chicago and actually most of Illinois, because this state is so upside down. You have no idea. So Pritzker's out there running for president. He's like Gavin Newsom in California. His whole state is a mess. He's a socialist. He's an indoctrinator. He just, everything he touches turns to poo-poo. Okay. And then, by the way, the people that vote for him find out that their property taxes are going up. Some of the stuff that they voted for is obviously to help the schools, to help the teachers. You got to pay for the illegals, all this stuff. And so property taxes went up. And, well, they're not too pleased. Here's a local news report.
Well, people have gathered here tonight at Harmony Community Church here in Lawndale as they're trying to light the way to fairness with this bonfire and discussion tonight. Many homeowners across Chicago receiving a hefty property tax increase in the mail, and they're all wondering where that money is going.
How can you maintain your home if your taxes are constantly going up?
Homeowners in Lawndale are searching for answers together tonight about their property tax hikes. Community leaders partnered with the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation to host this bonfire, allowing neighbors to discuss their options. One man says he received a bill this week that was $977 more than what he paid last year.
Tax increase is tied to a TIF that I have no idea why.
Well, I'm not laughing at him. Actually, I feel terrible for these people, but do they realize that they're voting for the politicians that continue to spend money like drunken whores? And then, lo and behold, taxes have to go up to pay for it. It's kind of our predicament here today in Nevada. And the film tax credit bill that is being considered by the Senate. It's going to create over a period of time, maybe 12 years, 10 years, 15, somewhere in there, a deficit of $1 to $1.5 billion at 80 to 100 million a year. They're going to have to figure out a way to make that up. Money's going to come from somewhere. Property taxes, income taxes being discussed. We're one of the few states in the country with no state income tax. But this is what the left does. Here's more on the report.
Homeowners are also frustrated because they feel like they're not seeing the tax hikes lead to notable investment in their neighborhoods.
There's been a divestment in this community for the most part, but it seems like now that people have found an interest in reclaiming the neighborhood, now it's like we're being taxed for prosperity.
You could go online on December 16th and find payment plans for up to 13 months. That's welcome news to these homeowners, but they still want some clarity on those tax hikes.
We understand utilities are going up and things of that nature, but it's a valuation issue. Like we don't have schools we need, those economics that aren't here, but we're being charged to pay for economics in other people's communities.
Well, you know what? What's funny is about a week ago, Chicago Public Schools, their inspector general published a report getting into spending by these teachers and these administrators. $20,000 went to a staff trip to Egypt. 8 schools used more than $142,000 to pay for trips to Finland, Estonia, and South Africa. 13 out of the 15 trips in the report were not pre-approved as required. There was one trip that was even rejected, but the employees went anyway. One principal, and you got to thank him for us here as a Las Vegan. I have to say, thank you for coming to Vegas. But apparently, a principal booked a $400 a night suite here for him and his wife in Vegas to attend a conference. The conference was actually at a different hotel, started 2 days after their arrival, and ended after they already left. It kind of feels like they weren't even here for the conference. One teacher in Chicago spent $4,700 on a 7-day stay in Hawaii, all supposedly to attend a seminar. Hundreds of employees spent $1.5 million of taxpayer funds on various seminars over the course of just 2 years. It goes on and on and on. This is the problem. The government is not a good steward of money. These poor property owners are going to spend more money, going to pay $900 more a year in property taxes just so the teachers can go blow it on stuff and at the same time deliver a poor education for the students in public schools. They're just going to indoctrinate these kids even further. Also, that the fat cats at the teachers union can continue writing big checks to their Democratic protectors in government. It is absolutely sick. Makes me mad. But this is how it goes. This is the system. You're not. By the way, if just throwing more money at a problem were actually to fix things in government, the government would have inadvertently repaired a lot of things and made enormous progress years ago. So it's not a money thing. We know that for sure. It ties into a lot of our other problems. Okay. CNN. I'll get to this when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, also a proud son of two immigrants who came here from Czechoslovakia, fled communism in 1968, which brings me to today's important date, November 17th. This is the date, it's a significance also for being International Students' Day. During the Nazi occupation, Czech universities were closed by the Nazis. But then November 17th, 1989. 1989 is when people flooded into Wenceslas Square in Prague to hear from Václav Havel and others, speeches, a mass demonstration against the Bolshevik government. It marked the first of the last moments of the regime. And on the 28th, the government collapsed and a new, free, soon-to-be democratically elected government took over. So I always remember November 17th as a turning point. And things can, the lesson from this is things can shift and move around quickly, especially where a government loses legitimacy. Yeah, I had this, I saw this, just such a wow, interesting thing to see on CNN, particularly from someone like Fareed Zakaria, who I've always had to be sort of a daft leftist. Sort of filed him away as a nothing burger, so-called journalist. Well, Zakaria delivered on Sunday a very interesting monologue where he criticized Democrats, but really ultimately criticized the Democratic machine. Well, let me play. This is how it started, and it started with reference to the shutdown, which, of course, I maintain still has not gone well for the Democrats, the whole showdown, and the way it has ended. So Zakaria started with that.
It's hard to see how the government shutdown and reopening is anything other than a defeat for the Democrats. A high-stakes confrontation that ended with their own goals unmet and their message muddled. If they didn't have the leverage or were not willing to use it to prolong the shutdown, then why did they stage it at all? The shutdown reinforced the image of the Democrats as feckless. They promised wonderful-sounding new programs, free childcare, but in fact preside over bloated bureaucracies and inept execution.
Whoa! This is from like a liberal journalist. But this is absolutely called the Democrats feckless. They promise wonderful sounding new programs, free child care, but in fact they preside over bloated bureaucracies and inept execution. By the way, are we talking about people just in the past? Or are we talking about, let's say, people in the future, like Mamdani coming into New York? Well, Zacharias says, well, you could think about New York as an exemplar of this type of failure.
Consider New York City, the country's largest and most important metropolis. The mayor-elect wants to spend more money on shiny new programs. But surely it would be worth first asking, what happened to the money already raised? In 2012, toward the end of Michael Bloomberg's mayoralty, the city's budget was about $65 billion. Today, it is about $116 billion, an increase of more than 75% in just over a decade. Spending has soared while the subway deteriorates, housing costs rise, and public schools remain mediocre, despite spending more than $36,000 per pupil last year, the highest in the nation among major school districts. The result is a paradox that defines much of blue state America. Government that promises more, costs more, but delivers less.
Whoa! And this, by the way, think about it, right? I mean, that's a budget. I didn't even realize the New York City budget went up that much. They don't have an increase in people. They've just increased taxes. Taxes and fees. They just keep charging people more. And the more expensive it gets to build something, to get certificates of occupancy, right? To get plans through the planning department, to get, to property taxes, the cost of living goes up. All the free stuff, it turns out, costs money. This is a cautionary tale to our friends up in Carson City today and here in Nevada. Giveaways are never free. And eventually, the drag that comes from the cost of government is too heavy of a burden to bear. And you get to a point where even liberals on CNN are talking about it. So here he gets into some common sense goal for democratic cities. This might be stretching a bit too far if this is even possible.
The quintessential democratic response: process without progress. And it is precisely this instinct, endless process instead of results, that drives voters to tolerate Donald Trump's bluster and bullying. At least he gets things done, they say. But when government seems incapable of building housing, fixing schools, or balancing budget, even sympathetic voters lose faith. If Democrats want to rebuild that faith, they must rediscover the lost art of simple competence. And they can prove it to the entire nation by governing well in the places, like big cities, where they are in charge. Fix the schools before promising new subsidies. Change housing rules before asking for rent freezes. And tear down the scaffolding.
Well, there it is. Now, to me, if we are to run as Republicans, as conservatives, as common sense country fixers, we should focus on this kind of messaging. This is a winning argument. We're going to pragmatically come in and fix the government. This is, by the way, why Doge was so popular. Now, somewhere along the way, we're getting stuck in some weird weeds. And this entire thing, for example, with Marjorie Taylor Greene is an example of it. And she gave Marjorie Taylor Greene at the same day on CNN that Fareed Zakaria was candidly almost recanting his liberalism and saying the Democrats have a major problem. Marjorie Taylor Greene was falling over herself to apologize to the country for her divisiveness. Listen to this.
We have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another.
I've spoken to a lot of people what's going on here, and as I understand it, and I can't tell you because I wasn't in the room, here's the genesis of the falling out between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, went to Trump and asked him, told him she wanted to run for the Georgia Senate against Jon Ossoff. And Trump apparently responded. I don't know if this was the response, but at some point in time, responding to her, sent her a poll that basically showed Greene losing to Ossoff by 20, 25 points. I mean, it was a big margin of victory for the Democrat. And Greene took that as a brush off, that she'd been loyal to the president, that she'd supported him, and that now he had turned his back on her. Now, Trump wants a Republican in that race that can win. Trump's a pragmatist. He understands that she's not going to win. So that's it. That's the falling out. Then she comes out and starts criticizing Trump. Then she signs on this whole shenanigan express train with the Epstein files, and just goes full wonky. Now, Robbie, I don't know. We could have found the clip, I suppose. I know that on more than one occasion here on the program, I've always chuckled at Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I've always sort of intimated that she is a clown. None of this new stuff is going to change my opinion on it. Their side, Dana Bash, people at CNN, MSNBC, the liberal media, literally worked the country up into such a frenzy that people out there want to kill conservatives, want to kill people on our side, and have killed people on our side. To offer up an apology to Marjorie, to CNN, to Dana Bash, not getting anything from Dana in return, to me just seems absolutely gross. So if I thought she was a clown before, she's even a bigger clown now. But I don't know. I'm just telling you that this is where Republicans are losing. We're just get back on the rails, people. We have a country to save. Lower taxes, lower regulation, get government out of the way, basic fundamental principles, return education, you want to fix it, give parents the power of choice. Parents can vote with their money, with their feet, can leave public schools. Public schools will have to, they'll be incentivized to fix themselves. Why do you think CBS News has hired Barry Weiss and wants to hire conservatives? The financial reality of being a mouthpiece for the left, getting paid through USAID money, went away. They got doged. And all of a sudden, the math had to math. We will fix this country through common sense solutions. And everybody out there that is in shrill histrionics about Israel, about this, about Epstein files, but I'm sick of all of you. Bunch of bozos. Go join a big top circus somewhere. Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. Go do that. And we'll watch on Sundays when we got nothing better to do. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Back in a moment. A couple of other points here to mention. I know Trump over the weekend came out with some ideas of how to stimulate the economy or how to fix healthcare. Did you hear this? Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. His idea is to give the money instead of putting, taxpayer dollars, putting government money into Obamacare, giving the money in the form of a rebate or a coupon directly to the consumer, to the taxpayer. Here's the problem with this. If the cost of something is, I'm going to make up a number. If the cost of something is $800, what happens when you give every single potential purchaser of that product a $500 coupon for that product? What happens to the price of that product? And the answer is basic economics. The cost of that product will go up. The pricing of that product will go up because you're increasing every individual's purchasing power evenly at the same time. It's just going to happen. So that's my concern with this. I don't know if that's a workable thing. Again, I haven't seen the details, but it's another thing. And the same as Trump is talking about doing a $2,000 tariff rebate. I saw an Axios piece about it. Again, I'm not certain if this is a musing of Trump, something that he's thinking about doing, that he's, testing. Trump will frequently do this. He'll mention that he's going to do something, and then he puts it out there and sees what the reaction is, and then maybe doesn't do it. Well, it's the same thing. I mean, just giving people money, lower the effective tax rate of Americans. I would perfect system. I mean, didn't they tease us for a while that if they raised the tariffs, they could do away with the income tax the way things were before the disastrous presidency of one Woodrow Wilson? Just a thought. Also, the latest about crooks. I know Tucker Carlson did a piece on this. Yes. And I admit I started watching the Tucker piece, and then I got distracted over the weekend. I had a wife left town, and I was on kid duty, which means I didn't have my usual time on Sunday night to go through and get ready for the week for work, and like I typically do, and I would have reviewed more of it. But long and the short of it, there's some information coming out about Thomas Crooks. He is a would-be Trump assassin. The latest of it is that apparently he was into furries, which is a little hobby apparently he shared with Charlie Kirk's assassin. It's all these perverts out there. Weird stuff. I'm less interested in the furry thing. I really am. The part of Tucker's report that was good to hear is all of the new released information from the FBI clearly show that Trump's would-be assassin, Crooks, that he was anti-Trump. He had started out as a Trump supporter, and remember the FBI, Biden's FBI, Christopher Wray, they kept saying how this guy was a Trump supporter and this and that, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Sure enough, around 2020, this Crooks guy began to radicalize anti-Trump, against Trump, and posted all sorts of really violent things online and had people interacting with him. And these people may be foreign agents. These people may be within our own government. There's some questions raised, and I don't know how much I followed Tucker on some of the stuff, but this is a ongoing now conversation. So we'll get more into it as we get further along. But yeah, I mean, it's maybe he got into some trans stuff too. It's certainly there was a metamorphosis that occurred circa 2020 and 2021 where he was blaming Trump, Crooks was, blaming Trump for the coronavirus, for COVID, and for his ineptitude, and turned on him and began writing things online wishing Trump harm. And he had some suspicious people reaching out to him and asking him to get into contact. And I don't know. Of course, the FBI has come out. You probably saw this. Kash Patel came out and said, look, he acted alone. I mean, what can I tell you? I do not believe that Kash Patel has any reason to keep from us a scheme to kill Trump. I really don't. And it could very well be that this kid acted alone. I got it. And of course, Tucker now likes to sensationalize things. He hasn't gone full Candace Owens, but he's getting there. So some of this has to be taken with a grain of salt. But notwithstanding, some interesting stuff beginning to come out. And Christopher Wray, I don't know if you feel this way too, Robbie, but I just got to say, when Wray went in, testified to Congress and said that Crooks didn't act on a political ideology and that he didn't have a social media presence, those were lies. That was, to me, I think, I think that was not perjury, maybe. So that's going to be another development. Okay, gotta run. There's the music. Sam at whatsrightshow.com, at whatsrightsam on Twitter. I'll see you tomorrow, folks.